The idea that I would make all of this up and put myself, my wife, my son, my entire family through this, extremely stressful and painful experience, all for the sake of money, is completely
But that's what you're going to be accused of. You're going to be accused. You're going to say you defended Michael Jackson while he was alive because he was good for your career, and now that he's gone, there's an opportunity here to sue his estate. He can't defend him.
Wade Robson was interviewed by Matt Lauer in 2013. Robson stated during this interview that he did not have a financial motive for making accusations against Michael, and the mere idea of doing so was incomprehensible to him. But evidence suggests otherwise. In December 2010, Wade was offered to direct the dance movie Step Up 4, which eventually came out under the title Step Up Revolution. According to court papers and a blog post Robson wrote on November 17, 2017, Robson considered the directing opportunity a fulfillment of Michael Jackson's prophecy to him as a child, that he would become a movie director of epic proportions, even bigger than Steven Spielberg. Robson was so seriously impacted by the alleged prophecy that he crumbled under the pressure of the assignment. Robson may have had two realizations. One, a step-up movie was too big a venture for him to manage, and two, he was not going to be the next Spielberg. The standard demands of the industry proved too much for Robson, triggered a nervous breakdown which eventually forced him to withdraw from the project. Wade wrote in his blog post from 2017,
"Additionally, I was now ravaged by a debilitating feeling of shame that I was a complete failure. I felt that my entire life had been building to this opportunity to become a film director. It had arrived. I was fulfilling Michael's prophecy, and then I blew it. Therefore my entire life, I believed, had been in vain. Thank God I had Amanda and our baby boy, because beyond that, I felt no purpose anymore."
Although Wade does not mention it in any of the court papers or his blog post, the Step Up project was not his first failed attempt at directing a movie. In an interview that he gave Dance Informer in April 2009, Robson revealed that he and his wife Amanda were working on their first feature film at the time. When asked why he declined to direct Britney Spears' 2009 tour, Wade said that it was because their priority was creating a movie. Robson is quoted as saying,
"We've been writing the film all through 2008 as well, but Amanda was mostly working on it because I was doing the Cirque show. So it was kind of really broken and hard to really focus on it.
And
we were supposed to do this Britney tour, but it was just another distraction, and we really want to move into film and really make this the next path for us. I spend most of my time saying no to jobs, probably to my own demise."
The Cirque show he mentioned here is not to be mistaken for the Cirque du Soleil show featuring Michael Jackson. It is the Criss Angel Believe show in which Robson worked as the choreographer. Criss Angel Believe was both a critical and a commercial failure, eventually cancelled in 2016. Robson also revealed in the same interview that he and Amanda were writing a theatre show as well. Neither a movie nor the theatre show materialised, despite both Wade and Amanda putting in a lot of time and effort into their work, sacrificing other projects. Under the pressure, Robson suffered an emotional collapse, eventually seeking professional help. On May 16, 2011, he started cognitive therapy for about a month. Evidence shows that on May 21, 2011, only 5 days after he started therapy, Robson wrote an email to the director of the Cirque du Soleil show in which he stated,
"I always wanted to do the SMJ show, badly."
In the same email about his failed attempt at directing the Step Up movie, he wrote,
"Look, the directing gig didn't work out. It was consuming me in an unhealthy way that I wasn't okay with, being a brand new father. Maybe it just wasn't the right time. Maybe I just wasn't ready to direct a studio film.
Robson was hired for the Cirque du Soleil show, but it was decided that Jamie King was better qualified to direct, and Robson was assigned for a lower position. So business for Robson was not doing well. In his pursuit as a filmmaker, Robson declined career offers with guaranteed earnings, burning his professional connections and bridges. He exhausted his savings and assets. Robson had not done anything mention-worthy for almost a decade, and he blamed Micheal Jackson because Jackson had told him he would become big. In March 2012, about a year after his first breakdown, Robson suffered a second nervous breakdown. He went to a new therapist in April 2012, where he started an insight-orientated therapy. According to his story, about 3 weeks into therapy, on May 8, 2012, Robson declared the first allegations of his sexual abuse by Micheal Jackson to his therapist. Robson suddenly, conveniently, remembered or accepted the alleged abuse, and he had been shopping for a book deal as revealed by his own emails from late 2012 and early 2013. Specifically, with the help of his long-term entertainment lawyer Helen Yu, several book publishers were contacted, but apparently he was turned down by all of them. In a privilege log provided during discovery, we can see that 73 emails were sent between Wade, literary agent Alan Nevins and Helen Yu in the period between December 12, 2012 and February 22, 2013. The fact that Robson has a financial interest in accusing and suing the Micheal Jackson estate is also highlighted by Robson's legal actions. Robson filed 2 types of legal action against Jackson's entities, perjuring himself to get around the statute of limitations. He filed a creditor's claim against the estate in probate court and a lawsuit against 2 of Jackson's companies in civil court for the alleged childhood sexual abuse, arguing that due to his alleged sexual abuse, he would never be able to work in entertainment again. Therefore, he needs financial compensation. Robson demanded a whopping $1.62 billion and still kept working in the entertainment business, having done various insignificant projects since. Looking at Safe Chuck's allegation, he's never got as far in the court system as Robson's, so there are no depositions regarding him. What we do have is his complaint and his declaration. Represented by the same lawyers as Robson, Safe Chuck ended up with an eerily similar explanation. Like Robson, Safe Chuck too claims that up until shortly before he filed his lawsuit, he did not realise that he had allegedly been sexually abused as a child.
I never knew that what he did to me was sexual abuse. I continued into adulthood not understanding that what he did and what we did together was wrong.
It seems very convenient that we have 2 adult men that realised only until shortly before filing their lawsuits that sexual relations between an underage boy and a grown man are wrong and considered child abuse. Safe Chuck claims that what triggered his realisation of abuse was the birth of his son in 2010 and worrying about having paedophilic urges about him. Safe Chuck is quoted as saying,
I got married and had a son. I continued to live in denial and secrecy. After my son was born in late 2010, my fear of exposure became worse as I realized that now other people were part of my life and I was dragging them into it. I began to see how innocent children really are and to worry that I would have pedophilic urges.
Let's compare this to what Robson claimed about his realisation process in his declaration.
In March 2012, I had my second and final nervous breakdown, which again included feelings of extreme stress, anxiety, fear, and depression. I would look at my son and imagine him experiencing the sexual acts I did with Doe 1, which I did not yet equate with being sexually abused. And, for the first time in my life, I wondered if I needed to talk to someone about what Doe 1 and I did together. I knew that I truly had no idea how I felt about it.
If this story makes you a little uncomfortable, trust me, you're not alone. In a blog post on November 24, 2017, Robson wrote this about when he first told his allegations to his wife.
I believe it was that night or the next morning at the latest that Amanda asked me one of the heaviest questions I've ever received. I am sorry, but I have to ask you this, she said. Do you have any confusion about our son? I understood that what she meant was, due to my being molested as a child, did I have any urges to molest our son? A painful question to hear, but one of the easiest I've ever had to answer. No, absolutely not. He is the reason I finally spoke the truth about what happened to me and have begun this healing journey. My relationship with him is one of the few things I have clarity on. This speaks to Amanda's strength and clarity as a human and as a mother. This was a hard question for her to ask me, but she knew in her heart that she had to and didn't hesitate.
Having the same lawyers, Safechuck and Robson both shared a very similar trigger that after all these years eventually made them allegedly realise that they had been sexually abused by Michael Jackson. Similarly to the Spielberg prophecy in Wade Robson's complaint, an underlying theme in Safechuck's complaint is his bitterness about his failed career ambitions. In his complaint, he vents his frustration and blames Michael Jackson about the fact that his career and professional life did not turn out the way he imagined as a teenager. We also learned that he aspired a career in show business. Initially, he wanted to be an actor, but he says Jackson talked him out of it. Then Safechuck aspired to be a movie director. He had big dreams for himself about making it in the movie industry. Safechuck also tried to make it in the music industry. He had a band. However, his show business dreams never materialised, and in 2003, at the age of 25, he finally gave up and moved on to have a normal life. He remarks that for a long time, he believed that Michael Jackson was sincere about our getting together to make movies or do something together in the entertainment realm. He had always said that I would do great things with him, and I never doubted him. Safechuck eventually went to community college and became a web developer, but in his complaint, he blames Michael Jackson that he did not manage to get a better education. He claims that Jackson talked to Safechuck's parents out of sending him to college and to focus on filmmaking instead. Vince Finaldi, lawyer of both Robson and Safechuck, repeatedly supplied tabloids with material that they could use to generate bad press for the estate and thus Michael Jackson. Channel 4 is set to broadcast the documentary Leaving Neverland in the UK. Doesn't even try to hide how the film is aimed to ruin Jackson's reputation and impact the estate's business. Robson's lawyers, who also recruited a female accuser whose lawsuit was announced around Halloween 2016, when the media interest in Thriller by Michael Jackson is especially high. A few months later, the woman dismissed her own lawsuit and vanished. The sole purpose of the accusation seemed to be about making Michael Jackson look bad in the press. A similar media assassination attempt was made back in 2013. In early 2013, AEG was hit with a lawsuit by Katherine Jackson and Michael Jackson's kids for the wrongful death of the late King of Pop. AEG warned us that something ugly was going to come out in this lawsuit. On March 21st, the judge allowed the child abuse allegations to be raised in the trial for AEG to make a case against Jackson, alleging Jackson was responsible for his own death. This is the same day Wade Robson put his house up for sale for $789,000, which sold on May 8th for a whopping $825,000, $36,000 more than he asked, only a day after his allegations went public on May 7th, 2013.
So, Wade Robson now says, very contrary to what he said in the stand, he now says Michael Jackson molested him when he was a child. Your reaction?
It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It flies in the face of his very powerful testimony for the defense in Michael Jackson's criminal trial. You know, he was the first witness I called in the defense case. And if you put on a defense case in a criminal trial, you always want to start with a powerful witness. He was very powerful for us. He said that nothing untoward had ever happened. He said there had been no sexual molestation, no inadvertent touching, nothing improper by Michael Jackson. And then he withstood a very powerful cross-examination by a very seasoned prosecutor, and Wade Robson never changed his position. He was adamant that nothing had happened. In fact, he called the allegations ridiculous. I don't buy it for 1 second. I don't know who's influencing him one way or the other. I don't know why he's been induced to apparently change his very strong and very powerful testimony of 2005. And remember, he didn't just give testimony in the courtroom. He did some interviews after the trial where he also said it's ridiculous, nothing happened. He would look at the people interviewing him and ask them if they'd ever slept in a bed with a friend or with a parent. I mean, he could not have been stronger for us. And I don't know who's influenced him. I don't know whether he needs money. I find it very curious that this development happened in the middle of the civil trial that Catherine Jackson and Michael's children have filed against AEG. None of it adds up very well to me. AEG's lawyer got up in his opening statement in that courtroom and said things were going to get ugly, suggesting he's going to try and vilify and take Michael Jackson's reputation and try and pound it and hurt it. And you know, they're trying to minimize the value of Michael Jackson's reputation.
You sound like you think AEG has had communications with Wade Robson even before the case started.
I've said what I'm going to say about that issue.
These tactics appear to be directed to pressure the Michael Jackson estate to settle and/or prejudice a jury in case there is a trial where damage could be demanded. Manley and Finaldi, Robson's and Safechuck's lawyers, have already been involved in previous cases of victim phishing, according to an article published by themediareport.com in 2012. During An Open Secret movie controversy, Manley and Finaldi were also the lawyers for the accuser Michael Egan and admitted to the two formerly accused Garth Ancia and David Newman that the allegations against them were untrue. In connection with the signed admissions, lawyers Jeff Herman of Florida and Mark Gallagher of Hawaii paid what Ancia's representatives described as a seven-figure settlement to the two men. Let's also remember that in his 2016 deposition, Wade Robson's brother Shane stated that during his breakdowns, Wade was worried about his ability to support his family and had financial concerns. Wade's mother also admitted in her deposition that regarding Wade's finances, there was a concern. It is important to stress that after Robson's lawsuit was dismissed, the estate is now demanding compensation for legal fees for over $100,000. During the Q&A after the screening of Leaving Neverland at Sundance, both men claimed they were not offered any money to participate in the documentary.
And I think, I think a lot of people might have a question like, were you, kind of like, what's in it for you to tell the story now? And, were you ever offered any like compensation by the production to participate, or, what are you gaining from this personally other than just getting the story out there for people to know?
Yeah, from the get-go, there was no money, ever offered, or we never expected anything. So this was really just trying to tell the story and shine light on it, and the same way, knowing that Wade went through it, we could give other people that same connection and comfort that we've gone through something like this. That's big.
Yeah, I think that's what I and what we have been looking for, and that was the goal of deciding to try the case route, was just looking for a platform to be able to tell the truth.
Yet very recently, Robson set up a fund asking people to contribute towards the healing from and prevention of child abuse. Interestingly enough, the fund was set up just before the release of the documentary and about 6 years after the allegations became public. Also, according to journalist Roger Freeman, Robson will avoid filing out tax form 990. In summary, both Robson and Safechuck are failed movie directors with delusions of grandeur, represented by the same shady lawyer. Both men only realised that they had suffered abuse from Michael Jackson when they imagined their sons being molested. Both men had financial motives. Neither of the two have a single shred of proof to back up their allegations. It's up to you, the viewer, to decide which is more credible. That Michael Jackson abused these men from childhood and they both had the exact same unusual realisation process as adult men, or that these two men were not abused by Michael Jackson, but in fact they saw an opportunity to financially exploit a deceased man via his companies to the tune of over $1 billion. A man who is not able to defend himself against such serious allegations. I suspect you already know the answer.
If I am guilty of anything, it is of believing what God said about children. Suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of heaven. In no way do I think that I am God, but I do try to be God-like in my heart. I am totally innocent of any wrongdoing.